Well, one person, and there have been thousands and thousands of them, but one person who found her name in the Atlantic's database is Rosie Wilby, the comedian and author of the book, The Breakup Monologues. Rosie, welcome to the media show. Alex was saying a lot of authors have been getting in touch with him and expressing their anger. Is that how you felt when you saw your book there?
Hello, yes, and thank you for having me. And thank you to Alex for shining a light on this because, yes, as you say, like many millions of author friends and colleagues, I typed my name into that search bar and was very shocked to find both of my books were there and most likely had been used by Meta in this way to train their large language models. And most importantly, no one had ever asked me. And certainly no one had ever offered payment. And bearing in mind that in the UK, it was found recently that the average annual salary of an author is as lowly as £7,000. And we see Meta, this hugely, trillion-dollar company, not paying us, just deciding, no, well, we're not going to bother paying for this material. You can imagine how we feel just completely exploited.
And I'd like to ask you about the idea of being paid by a tech firm to use your book. But first of all, does the fact that it's not automatically the case that your book or any other book has been used by Meta to train its AI, does that offer any reassurance?
Well, no, because we're just in the dark and we don't know. And the way these models work is that they need to use vast amounts of data. So it's most likely that pretty much any book that was in the library has been used, or certain parts of it have been. And we just don't know. We have no control. I mean, for example, authors do often give their work away. For example, extracts are published by newspapers and magazines, but we would know which extract and how many words. And with our publishers, we would have control over things like that. I mean, yes, we want our work to be out there in the world, and there may be ways of collaborating with these kind of systems in the future in ways where it is licensed properly and we are paid. And we do hear publishers doing more ethical deals with AI. For example, Rosie, HarperCollins did a deal where authors were paid.
Let me unpack that then. Would you be open then to an arrangement organised by your publisher whereby you received some money from a company that was then going to use your books in the development of their AI?
Potentially. I think every author will have a different position on this, and I might have a different position about my fiction that I'm writing now, which I do feel sort of is very personal and individual and is quite unique to me, and I would feel more protective perhaps of that. Whereas my nonfiction books, I had a primary motive of trying to become a part of the conversation about the psychology of love and relationships and make that more diverse and inclusive of LGBTQ plus relationships. So if there were in the future sometime an AI model sort of learning how to write a Rosie Wilby style book that is looking at the psychology of love from the perspective of a middle-aged lesbian comedian, then I might actually be quite into that, but I would want to in some way be credited and recognized and paid, or if it is after my death, then for my estate to get paid. But I also think there's a wider moral question here about, wouldn't AI be put to better use helping with the tasks that human beings actually need help with, like curing cancer or Alzheimer's, rather than writing books, which human beings seem to be quite good at doing, actually?
Well, I guess some people might argue it might go about both types of work. I must just quickly ask you before we say thank you, and I would emphasize we're live on the radio at the moment, but what have the WhatsApp groups you're on with other writers been like since that Atlantic search was published?
Everyone has been very, very concerned, and one or two authors have been concerned that their publishers don't seem to be taking this seriously. I am very relieved that both my agents, Curtis Brown, and my publisher, Bloomsbury, are taking this very, very seriously and will be working with the Publishers Association, who I believe you're also going to be speaking to look into this and see what's happening.
Well, you've very much introduced our next guest. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. That's Rosie Wilby, comedian and author of two books, one of which is The Breakup Monologues.
Yeah, she's